I'm going to show you two methods today on how you can cover your paper shapes for your English paper piecing or EPP. You're going to need a few supplies, whichever method you use, the main one being your paper shape that will go in the centre of your fabric, and this will then fold over. This needs to be a little bit thicker than printer paper because that would be too soft. You can see that this has got a little bit more body about it. This was from a pack of freebies that was attached to a magazine in the shop, so keep an eye out for those. Or you can buy them in packets of pre-cut sizes and shapes from quilt shops. You're going to need some fabric and a good pair of sharp scissors. You might need a pencil, but you might not. You're going to need some thread for one method and a glue pen for the other. For the first method, I'm going to take my fabric and place it wrong side up on the table, and I'm going to lay the paper insert over the top of it, and you can see that I've cut it out so that I've got a rough seam allowance all the way around the outside. You can rotary cut this if you want to speed things up, but I just cut this using a pair of scissors, and I'm just going to pop a pin through that just to hold in place. So the first method I'm going to show you will use a needle and thread, and I have a needle already primed here with a piece of thread on it, and I'm just going to pop a knot in the bottom of that so that it's right at the end. We're dealing with one strand of thread here. Now, don't use your best thread. This is a great opportunity to use up leftover thread, or that old reel of thread that you've got from Granny's sewing box is ideal for this. Now I'm going to show you how I made all of mine when I first started, and in that case I'm going to tack through. So I'm literally going to stitch all the way through, just folding that edge over and using my fingernails to just get a nice crease. I'm going to tack all the way round, and you can see that we're not talking little stitches here, we're talking great big tacking stitches that will hold the fabric over the paper to stabilize it. Now, a lot of more modern quilters only actually sew through the fabric, they won't sew through the paper itself as well, but I'm afraid a bit old school, and I tack through mine. And yes, you end up with little holes in your shape, but you can still reuse them quite a lot before you need to think about replacing them. So just keep working your way around. I can take the pin out now. I'm done with that. Folding and tacking through the shape just like that. And you can see I just got to the end, and then I just catch it all the way through, and I will do a quick knot just to hold that, and I will then snip that thread off. And there is my first completed and covered hexagon. Now this is great because you can sit and do this in front of the television on a night and just mindlessly sit and tack them until you've got a nice decent pile put to one side. The second method involves using one of these aqua glue marker pens, and there are a number of them on the market. This one happens to be by Prim, and it has a twist to it so that you can retract and push out your glue. And you can see that it's a very bright colour, but that will actually dry clear, so you don't need to worry about that. And it retracts away like that. And you can also buy little refills for them, which is extremely useful. So you only actually have to pay for the pen once, and then you can just buy your refills for it. So here is my fabric, and again, here is my paper shape that's going to sit inside that like so. And I'm going to use the glue pen, and I'm going to place the glue onto the paper as opposed to onto the fabric. If I start drawing that down my fabric, I'm going to start fraying it. So I'm just going to put some glue onto that side, and I can then fold that edge over so it's nice and neat and right up against the edge of the fabric, and I can just work my way along, folding and gluing as I go. And again, I'm just using my fingernails to flatten everything out. Folding over. Try not to get too heavy-handed with the glue, because although the paper shapes will come out afterwards, if you put an awful lot of glue on, then it makes it a little bit more difficult to pull them out. And then my final one will just fold over like that. Nice sharp points. And there's my completed shape, all covered and glued. I just wanted to show you these as well. These are my original templates that I used to make my quilts with. So this is the shape that I used for the paper insert, and this is the one that I would have used to cut my fabric out with, and I will have put it down and then traced around it with a pencil before cutting the shape out by hand. I also wanted to show you this. Somebody gave me this. I'm not sure if this is the smallest hexagon there is, but that's about a 1/4 of an inch hexagon just there. And you can see the size difference between the two. Imagine trying to cover that with some fabric. Once you've got some shapes all covered, ready to go, and you're thinking about joining them together, you're going to take them and place them right sides together like that. And we're going to stitch along this edge here. I'm going to start in this corner, and I'm going to lose my thread and just bring it up to that very point there. And I'm going to pull through like that, and then I'm just going to go and catch a couple of threads on the opposite side like so, and give it a tug. Now I'm going to do a stitch here just to reinforce it, just because it's on the corner, and got caught there, and I will very often just pass the needle through to create a loop knot just there as well, just to give it a little bit more stability. And then you're going to take your needle and you're going to pass it through, catching a couple of threads on each side of the shape and pull through, and you're just going to work your way along the side like that, catching a few threads and pulling the thread through as you go. You're trying not to sew through the paper, because obviously that then makes removing the papers a bit difficult, but just keep working your way around until you reach the end of the shape. Once you get to here, you can then think about adding in another shape and continue on until you run out of thread. It's very relaxing. I find it very calming doing EPP, and it's a great one to do in front of the television on a night, or it's a great one to take with you if you're travelling or out and about. You know, it's a very portable, easy technique to have with you. So I'm just going to finish that line there, and when I get to this end into this corner again I'm going to catch the 2 points there, and I'm going to go through, and again I'm going to do a reinforcing stitch, and I'm just going to create the loop knot like that. And there is your 2 pieces joined together, and you can see the stitches, but that's what I like about English paper piecing.